Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in life when you realize the loudest noise is not outside. It's in your own head. It's the constant explaining, the overthinking, the desperate need to be understood. But here's the truth no one tells you. The moment you stop chasing approval, stop defending yourself, and start pouring that energy into your own growth, the world around you begins to shift. People reveal their true colors. Opportunities start to knock. And without saying a single word, you begin to command a level of respect that arguments could never earn. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly why focusing on yourself and staying silent isn't just a choice. It's the turning point where everything begins to fall into place. When you begin to turn your focus inward, you are making one of the most radical decisions a person can make. You are stepping away from the gravitational pull of a world that constantly tells you who to be, how to think, and where to place your value. It is as if you have been running in a storm, chasing the approval of people who may never truly see you, and suddenly you decide to stop running. The storm doesn't stop, but you do. And in that stillness, you begin to see with a clarity you didn't know you could have. Focusing on yourself is not selfish, it is an act of preservation. Think of a seed buried in the ground. It must first receive what it needs to grow, water, nutrients, light, before it can ever give fruit to the world. The same is true for you. You cannot be a source of strength, inspiration, or love to others if you are constantly depleted. There is a difference between giving because you are full and giving because you are empty. One transforms lives, the other quietly erodes yours. The world often applauds sacrifice, but rarely stops to ask whether that sacrifice is leaving you hollow inside. When you shift your focus inward, you start asking questions you may have avoided. Am I living in a way that aligns with my deepest values? Am I surrounding myself with people who bring peace or with those who bring chaos? Am I building a life I chose or one that was chosen for me by the expectations of others? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are the very soil in which personal transformation begins to grow. You find that your time becomes more precious, your energy more guarded, and your decisions more intentional. And then something else begins to happen. As you invest in yourself, mentally, spiritually, physically, you find that you are no longer as reactive to the noise around you. You begin to notice that not everything demands your attention. Not every opinion needs to be met with an answer, and not every invitation deserves a yes. This is where the second truth reveals itself, the incredible power of silence. Silence is not merely the absence of words, it is the presence of control. In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, silence becomes a rare and powerful force. It unsettles those who expect your reaction. It confuses those who seek to draw you into conflict. And it empowers you to remain anchored in your own truth, rather than tossed about by the storms of someone else's chaos. There is a kind of strength that only emerges when you refuse to let others dictate the terms of your peace. Think of it like this. Words are seeds. Once spoken, they can be twisted, misinterpreted, or used against you. But when you choose silence, you choose which seeds to plant and which to keep in your hand. Silence gives you time to weigh your response, to determine whether your words will build or destroy, heal or wound. And in many cases, the most powerful statement you can make is to make none at all. There will be times when people provoke you, not because they seek truth, but because they seek reaction. If you respond, you give them the satisfaction of pulling you into their arena. But if you remain silent, you deny them that power. You stay in your arena, the one you have built through focus, self-awareness, and discipline. This is not about avoiding confrontation out of fear. It is about choosing your battles with wisdom and clarity. In silence, you hear more. You hear the subtle whispers of your intuition, the quiet confirmation of your convictions, the gentle warnings when something or someone is not aligned with your path. And perhaps most importantly, you hear the sound of your own growth. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself, because it is visible in how you live, how you carry yourself, and how unshakable you become in the face of noise. This is where focus and silence meet, creating a foundation so steady that life's storms no longer dictate your direction. The more you nourish yourself and guard your energy, the less you feel the need to explain, defend, or seek approval. You begin to walk in a peace that doesn't rely on circumstances, and that peace becomes magnetic, drawing to you the very opportunities, people, and moments that align with the life you were meant to live. When you stop explaining yourself, something profound happens. You begin to reclaim the time and energy you didn't realize you were giving away. So much of life can be spent in the exhausting effort of making others understand your choices, your dreams, your boundaries. You speak, not because it's necessary, but because you fear what will happen if you remain silent. You fear being misunderstood, judged, or rejected. But the truth is this: those who are determined not to understand you will never hear you clearly, no matter how many words you offer. And those who truly see you will not require an explanation to believe in you. There is a freedom in allowing your decisions to stand without commentary. When you release the need to justify your actions, you release yourself from the invisible chains of other people's approval. You stop living for their applause and start living for your own alignment. Life becomes simpler, not because circumstances change, but because your focus does. Your mind quiets. The noise of doubt, the endless debates in your head about what you should say or should do begin to fade. You learn that clarity is not given by convincing others. It is born in the stillness of knowing your own path. This clarity becomes a compass. It points you toward what matters and away from distractions. It helps you discern between battles worth fighting and traps set to drain your strength. It allows you to hear the voice within that says, "This is your way. Walk in it." And when you walk with that inner certainty, you no longer feel the need to keep turning back to explain where you are going or why you chose this road. You simply move forward, and in your movement, you inspire others without even trying. As this clarity grows, something else unfolds. Your presence begins to change the atmosphere around you. Without forcing, without pushing, you find that you are attracting the right people and opportunities into your life. Peace has a gravity of its own. It pulls in those who seek stability, truth, and authenticity. The frantic ones, the ones who thrive on chaos, the ones who are unsettled by calm. They begin to drift away, not because you push them, but because your energy no longer feeds their unrest. This is the beauty of alignment. When you are centered, the world around you begins to reorient. The people who remain in your life are those who respect your space, honor your growth, and value your presence. The opportunities that appear are those that match the path you've chosen, not the one you were pressured into. It's as if life itself begins to filter out what doesn't belong, leaving you with a clearer view of what does. And in this space, you realize that the relationships and situations that remain are not accidental. They are drawn to you because your focus and peace act like a beacon. You are no longer chasing what was never meant for you. You are receiving what has been waiting for you all along. When you set boundaries, you are not building walls to keep the world out. You are creating gates that decide what is allowed in and what must remain outside. Boundaries are the language of self-respect, and every time you enforce them, you are teaching others how to treat you. Without them, your life becomes an open field where anyone can trample, take, and leave behind whatever they wish. But when you know the worth of your time, your energy, and your peace, you begin to protect them with the quiet strength of someone who understands their value. There will be those who resist your boundaries, not because they are unfair, but because those boundaries disrupt the comfort of taking from you without giving. Some will accuse you of being distant, selfish, or cold. But their discomfort is not your burden to carry. It is a sign that your boundaries are doing their work, revealing who is truly aligned with you and who is only aligned with what they could gain from you. And as you stand firm, the respect you have for yourself becomes mirrored by the respect you receive from others. This respect does not come from demands or speeches. It comes from the way you live. You begin to understand that the loudest declaration of your worth is not spoken but shown. Your life becomes your statement, your discipline becomes your language, your results become your voice. You no longer need to defend your choices when your progress speaks for itself. The growth in your life the peace in your spirit, and the direction of your path all begin to communicate more than words ever could. There is a power in letting your life be the proof. Every action you take toward your vision, every quiet moment you spend working when others are speaking, every decision you make that honors your values, these are the things that silence doubts and dissolve arguments. It is not about proving anyone wrong. It is about living so fully in your truth that the proof becomes undeniable. The transformation in you becomes evident not because you announced it, but because it can no longer be hidden. And as this unfolds, you find yourself walking in a strength that does not need to shout because it has already been heard without a single word spoken.